So?
Hey, welcome home. Did you enjoy the pool? She moved out of the way to let you all inside. Derek hesitated before bringing up the rear. It was hard to ignore that he was shyly scratching his cheek and keeping his head down now that you were inside. Like, don't let Mom know that we broke into the old pool place.
It was a great time at the pool. Exactly. The pool was so good. And that's the truth.
Mrs. Suarez's affectionate gaze trailed across her three boys and then settled on you. She knowingly winked. You are the best, Mom. Just like, it's fine. You know what? Boys will be boys. They didn't hurt anybody. It's fine. I'm so glad to hear that. Mr. Suarez gleefully made his way over when he realized your group was back. His eyebrow arched and you could feel the mischief coming.
I told Mom you may not return as dry as you had left.
True.
He did say that. Darn, we've been found out! Man. Snapping your fingers, you tried to look disappointed. Your delivery had the Suarez family laughing. Nice. The next few hours passed by at a more leisurely pace. Together, progress was made on a 1,000-piece puzzle. At one point, Derek plucked one of the pieces from the I have no idea where this goes pile and tossed it at Nicolas to catch his attention. Nice. I'm glad that pile is universal. Without taking his eyes off the puzzle, Derek wondered out loud if he could take the Switch over to his place for the night. He had played it as if it was no big deal in the hopes that Nico would feel less pressure. Nicolas let out a deep sigh but got up anyway. Just as Derek had always struggled to say no to him, Nicolas equally couldn't deny his big brother's request. He returned a few minutes later, holding the console with a tangled power cord and a couple controllers piled on top.
I'm guessing you wanted 2 controllers.
That was exactly right. He knew Derek wasn't getting it for himself alone, but in order to experience it with you. Looks like Derek never needed to buy an extra controller himself.
Aww.
Aww.
Wow, thanks.
Nicolas's gaze narrowed as he pulled everything closer to his chest.
But, before I hand this over, could we play a few rounds with the family?
His eyes went wide and pleading. Instead of answering, Derek turned to you. His head tilted as he silently asked for your opinion. You nodded.
What do you think?
We'd be staying here a while longer then.
That's fine with me.
Cool.
He shifted back to his little brother, game face on.
I hope you're ready to lose, Nico. That's cute. Don't prepare your victory speech just yet, bro. Jorge, you're in too.
Come on.
It is not a choice.
Jorge's like, huh? The tiny piece of cardboard in Jorge's hand dropped onto the kitchen counter at the unexpected enlistment. He blinked, but then smiled.
Fine.
Yeah!
The Suarez family gathered around the TV, and the brothers got the console set up. With a new battle sparked between the Suarez boys, you and Liz decided to give your moms a quick call. Nice. They were tickled to find out what happened with Liz's surprise trip. Between the 4 of you, it was decided that Liz would go down to Sunset Bird to see them in person soon, and that you would stay in the city. Your trip was with the Suarez family, and there was the visit later in the summer that would center around your moms completely. After the call ended and you placed your phone back in your pocket, you had a new thought. Huh.
What?
What's that about? When are you leaving? I know you're here now, but you never told me for how long. Oh, I'm out of here tomorrow, technically. This is a very short trip. I say technically because my flight's at 11:59 p.m. Can you believe it? Sheesh, talk about a major inconvenience, but beggars can't be choosers. Derek. The brothers were absorbed in game land when Liz nearly shouted that last part over her shoulder. It was loud and pointed enough that there was no way they could miss her teasing. Derek watched you wave ride her siblings over his shoulder. His cocky grin fell to a frown.
Yeah, that's true. You're leaving tomorrow night. Both of you are.
Derek tried to muster up another smile, but it was weak in comparison. He seemed smaller all of a sudden, squished in the center of the couch with a brother on each side. Then he shrugged.
This sucks.
Things were starting to feel normal having you here, just in time for you to not be here anymore.
Nicholas's chin lifted at his brother's crestfallen tone. His gaze bounced back and forth between you and Derek, but you found his expression to be difficult to read. Jorge, meanwhile, gave his big brother an understanding pat on the back. When he caught your attention, he nodded encouragingly. Without a doubt, you knew that you could rely on his family to be there to support him alongside you and to bring him cheer during the days you were gone. You were thankful for them.
Sorry.
Well, I hit a nerve.
Nah, let's forget about that. It's not tomorrow yet.
Yeah, I'm worried. You knew from the start tomorrow was going to be a tough day, but it was worse now that you got a glimpse of how it might impact Derek. You weren't sure how to explain to him that it was okay to be sad, and that it was okay to miss what made this trip special. The game had been paused ever since Derek stopped watching the screen, but the scene had as strong of an impact on Nicholas as it had on his favorite person. His brows furrowed tensely.
That settles it.
Settles what? Nico breathed in deep through his nose, gathering his nerves, and pushed himself off of his seat. He walked with purpose away from his family and towards your sister.
Hi, could you give us some privacy? Us youngest siblings need to talk.
Oh? Well, this was not on my bingo card. Okay. Liz's lips twitched, possibly with a bite of disagreement or a question, or even a snarky quip, but surprisingly, she kept it in. Okay. Go easy on her. You might be their cherished little one, but Molly is mine.
Yeah, sure, I hear you.
He nonchalantly waved her off, and Liz gave you one last brief glance before yielding. Once she was gone, it was just you and Nicholas in that corner of the room.
Actually, could we talk outside?
Alright. His behavior so far had you stunned, but you followed him outside anyway. No one tried to follow, though you could feel every eye on your backs as you and Nicholas left. I'm sure they're all like, what does he want to talk to her about? I don't know if I've ever really had a one-on-one with you before. Standing in the street, Nico silently examined you with half-open eyes. Your mouth twisted awkwardly as you looked around. There was always a chance that Nicholas could surprise you, but you had a good guess about what the conversation would be about. Yeah, I have a pretty good guess, too. Should I be worried you brought me somewhere without any witnesses? Nicholas's cheeks puffed out in something like a pout, but he exhaled loudly instead.
There's something I want you to know, so just listen. Do you remember the night you took Derek to some party thing at that club your family goes to?
He said to simply listen and then went straight into wanting an answer. Nico was trying, though. I don't remember. Yeah, I would probably smile nostalgically. That night was one of your fondest summer memories, though you didn't have a clue what Nicholas had to tell you about that party now.
This might be wild to you, but believe it or not, that night left an impression on me too.
Really?
I was so upset that Derek bailed on the movie. We had to go without him, and then Mom and Dad wouldn't even let me stay up to see him get back. They tried every trick in their book to get me to go to sleep, but nothing worked. I just wanted him home. And they never did get me to go to sleep. I blinked myself out by accident. I burned up whatever energy I still had that late by getting so upset.
Nicholas chuckled at the memory, rubbing the back of his neck. His eyes remained wistfully glazed for another moment.
I couldn't understand why he wanted to go away all by himself. That didn't make any sense. Me, him, and Jorge. But at that age, we know I really meant me and Derek should stay together. That's when life was the best, right?
Silently nodding along, that detail didn't surprise you, but it also didn't stop the guilty feeling growing in your gut. You knew his 6-year-old self well, and the last thing you ever wanted was to hurt him.
At some point, I did wake up, and I rushed out to see Derek, my big brother, my best friend, and he hung out with me, exactly like I knew he would. I think Mom and Dad must have gone back to their own room because I remember Derek being the one to put me in bed. He promised to tell me all about what happened. It was great.
A slight smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Nicholas gradually met your gaze, and then he crossed his arms.
When he tucked me in, I was so happy that Derek was there and talking about the cool things he did. At the time, they were the biggest and most important adventures. I fell asleep perfectly content. But when I woke up the next day, I was sad all over again. It took a minute for my baby brain to realize that almost none of the story was about the fancy party, or how he was the only one of us who got to go. It was about doing something with you.
Your heartbeat was louder in your ears. You inconspicuously wiped your sweaty palms on the sides of your thighs.
I don't know.
I couldn't even explain that to anybody, including Derek. I didn't have the words. All anyone knew was that poor little Nico was feeling down. Don't worry, I get it better now. Perspective and maturity and whatever.
He glanced at the condo, and your chest ached. You had a good feeling that he was searching for Derek.
He really liked you. That's what I realized, and that's what made me sad. Derek's face when he looks at you now is the same as it was 10 years ago, when I was wrapped up in my blankie and he was dressed in his fancy clothes just talking about you. But it doesn't make me sad anymore.
Nicholas's lingering melancholy melted into a warm laugh.
Basically, he really likes you.
That's the point.
A smile brightened your features. It was wonderful for Nico to share what he could see with his own 2 eyes, and even more amazing to know with certainty that it was the truth. I love that he's like, Derek's never gonna say anything, so I gotta go tell her. Because he's just gonna pine away forever. Oh, Nico. Adorable. Nicholas ruffled a hand through his hair in a manner much the same as Derek did. There was no surprise there. Alright, well, I guess I need to... I gotta figure out what to do with this information. Alright. I shall ponder this. You returned to the condo together with matching conspiratorial smiles. By the way the room hushed as you walked through the door, you knew that not a single soul was minding their own business. And despite everyone's best attempts at pretending to be busy, it was obvious that Liz and the Suarez family were all equally curious about what happened outside. Everything okay over there? Should I be concerned?
We're fine.
Nicholas had cupped a hand next to his mouth to yell at your sister. As his brain caught up to his actions, he leaned towards you with a raised brow.
We're all good, right?
We couldn't be better. He rejoined his brothers, and you went back to Liz. After that talk, you felt a million times better about where you stood. Welcome back. I see you're still in one piece. Yeah, I'm even more whole. Aw, cute. Nicholas lifted his chin and flashed his siblings a determined grin. He cracked his knuckles. There you go.
Okay.
That's enough with the seriousness. Let's race.
Let's race.
All right.
Liz's brows raised as she watched the bizarre exchange. You slapped fingers over your mouth to muffle your laughter at first, but couldn't leave your sister hanging, so you gently got her attention by pushing her arm. They're still talking about video games. A car game. Oh, that makes sense. She combed some stray strands of hair behind her ear and watched the chaos commence. Well, there's no reason we should sit out now. Our jobs are done. The family, you and Liz included, ended up crammed shoulder to shoulder on the couches. Liz announced her intention of beating the brothers in a game she'd never played. Perfect. Her enthusiasm for the gold win was as powerful as ever. You hoped the condo would survive the competition. I want to play too. There was nothing like a good racing game to get the blood pumping. Your fingers were already fidgeting in anticipation. You needed a controller as soon as possible! Count me in for this. Since there were only so many controllers, it was decided that everyone would take turns, starting from the youngest to oldest. Nicolas faked humility as he accepted his position as first. The races began, and the room bounced with wild cheers and shouts. Even Mrs. Suarez jumped in line for a race. Yay! She was a welcome addition to the event. Mr. Suarez, on the other hand, had a history of gaming offenses. He was watched like a hawk by the other participants to make sure that he didn't pull any funny business. But it was to no avail. Just before the top 3 were decided, the race was intensely neck and neck. Mr. Suarez managed to bump Jorge from behind with his foot and destabilize his son's driving. Not one person actually saw him do it in the heat of the moment, but there was no debate on who the kicker was, no matter how much Mr. Suarez pleaded his innocence. The fact that his insistence was threaded with laughter didn't help his case. The rest of the rounds went off with less cheating, though weren't any less memorable. Eventually, enough of the day passed that Liz rose to her feet. It's getting late. My ride back to Sunset Bird should be coming soon. I'm gonna give my legs a chance to stretch and wait outside. She flashed you a weak smile and then double-checked that she had all of her things together.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me. Bye, everyone. Before she could make her exit, Derek sprung up as well.
Okay.
Wait, Molly and I should get going too. You don't have to leave by yourself.
What a gentleman. At that, Nicolas and Jorge finally stopped what they were doing and turned to their big brother. Both of them wore identical frowns. Derek glanced away from Liz towards the growing audience.
Sorry. We'll see you again tomorrow.
He sheepishly scratched the back of his neck while his brothers continued to stare pitiably.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I've got an idea. Why don't you come over to my place for a change? Mom and Dad are welcome, obviously. You too, Liz. Let's do it tomorrow.
That idea was met by surprise, but the room shifted positively. Getting to Derek's place was more unanimously agreed on than even Mr. Suarez being a big cheater. A new plan made, the group said goodbye for now. You and Derek accompanied Liz out. Though halfway, Derek paused and remembered to barrel back inside. He almost forgot to take the console home with him again. Perfect timing or not, Derek wasn't letting it slip through his fingers. He returned in record time as if he joined an actual race. Together, you hung outside with Liz until she was safely on her way home. It was still mind-blowing that you didn't have to center your life around a bus or a shuttle schedule anymore. By the time Liz's ride was out of sight, the sun was hanging low in the sky. It would be dark soon. You hopped into Derek's car and flopped into the front seat. You were ready to settle down for the day. Derek carefully stored the console, cords, and 2 controllers in the back seat before taking his spot behind the wheel. As soon as Derek pulled the door shut, he slapped his fingers on the steering wheel.
Woo! I've been waiting forever to try that new game.
You know it.
Well, it's not that new. It's already a few years old, but you know what I mean.
You're adorable. I shall match your eagerness. Hurry up then! We're burning daylight and there's not much of that left. He laughed and gave you a playful salute. You tapped your toes in anticipation.
Leave it to me.
You got it.
Derek eagerly turned the key and the engine roared to life. Within seconds, you were cruising down the road again. Thanks for helping Liz come see me.
Hey, don't worry about that.
No, seriously. I mean every bit of this. Thank you. You went the extra mile, even by your normal standards of doing things for people. That's a huge deal. He peeked at you and his flushed skin reddened even more. Derek glued his eyes on the road once more.
You're welcome, Molly. Believe me, it was all worth the trouble.
Cute. The rest of the ride passed by in a comfortable silence, and soon enough you were standing at his apartment door. Derek pushed it open and motioned for you to go in first. Carrying the console and its various wires under his arm, Derek trailed behind you. He casually gestured towards the living room.
I got you.
Take it easy and relax. I'll get this bad boy set up.
Or you could relax and I'll set it up.
What?
You can't turn this around on me.
Why not? You did all the driving. Now you can take it easy. Derek scratched the side of his head. You didn't budge from your position.
Your logic does check out, but
I got this. Hey, he let us do it! Nice! Yay! Derek reluctantly released the cores and let you take over managing the task.
Aww.
No.
thanks, Molly.
He sat on the edge of the couch, kicked his shoes off, and then stretched his legs out. Once the console was all ready, Derek declared something was missing. Luckily, it wasn't one of the cords. That was covered.
I'm gonna put my pajamas on. We can't have a late night game session in regular clothes.
Good point. Oh yeah, I'll change too.
Awesome. Let's regroup in 5.
With a deadline set, you both scrambled down the hall and into your own rooms. A few minutes later, you returned to about the same spot where you'd come in, but clad in much cozier outfits.
Nice work.
Hey, cozy Derek time. Love it. You look great.
That's gonna be a record. Now we're set.
Derek retrieved the game you got at the mall. The case had been waiting patiently on the coffee table for quite a while.
So?
There's versus and team modes with this racer game. What are you in the mood for?
Yeah, I think we should switch between modes, but start as enemies.
Oh, I see how it is.
He leaned towards you, oozing with mischief. Derek teasingly shook his raised fist.
Let's get to it.
Game on, Molly. I'm not planning to lose.
Fine by me. Bring it! You plucked the game case from his grip and skimmed the summary explanation as a refresher. It'd be good to come prepared. Derek crossed his arms, already confident.
Just remember, you asked for it.
You threw up a high five that Derek enthusiastically met with a loud slap. He picked up a controller and shot you a wink. Derek put the game in and hovered by the console until he was satisfied that things were booting up correctly. He then relocated to the couch across from the TV and plopped down in the center. You dive-bombed next to him. I would probably go sit on the same couch. Shifting and squirming, you repositioned yourself until the cushions and your body aligned into the most comfortable position. Derek chuckled, and you caught him trying to hide it after the fact.
Hi, Molly.
Hey. You were close enough that your leg brushed against his while you got comfortable. Even after putting a few inches between you both, your shoulders occasionally bumped. Derek's welcoming smile brought a warmth to you. Or maybe it was your hyper-awareness of his body heat radiating through your side. Either way, it was getting hotter. And on that note, you and Derek were at war against each other. Time went by at a rapid clip while you were inside the world of the game. Alright, well, let's see how I'm doing. I'm usually pretty decent at these racing games, but I have been known to suck from time to time, so we're gonna do a random number generator to see what the stars have decreed for me this day. Hiya. Okay, I'm in the middle. I'm holding my own okay-ish. It was rare that things went as planned, but when it did happen, you beamed proudly. Derek cheered for your victories as much as his own wins. And Derek won a lot. Nothing the game threw at him registered as a challenge. He was only holding back for your sake. It was the most polite butt-kicking you'd ever witnessed. Your throat was sore from the highs of making each other laugh and from the lows of shouting out of frustration at the TV. The game was still in full swing when suddenly Derek spoke up. Not for further commentary on your digital moves, but for real-life considerations.
Did you want any snacks?
Out of habit, you glance in his direction. He had his sight locked on the TV screen even still.
I can't keep putting my stomach off. Can we pause for a minute?
Yeah.
Thank you.
As soon as you lifted your finger off the pause button, Derek was already out of his seat and dashing towards the kitchen.
It's no problem.
I can bring something for you, too.
You unpause. I was wondering if you had the option to unpause the game. I won't do that. I'm not that mean. Can I have the snack I picked out earlier at the store?
Oh yeah. Thanks for reminding me about that.
From the repeated clatter of cupboard doors, you knew he was checking every cabinet for the best treats. Your stomach began rumbling in anticipation. Derek returned, and his arms were filled with all kinds of goodies you'd picked up on your grocery trip, and a couple you hadn't seen before. They must have been tucked away for a special occasion before you'd arrived. He carefully placed 2 water bottles down and then dumped the rest onto the coffee table.
All right.
Behold!
Derek flopped back down onto the couch and did a double take at the table. You'd already managed to swipe a handful of things. You were eager to get started again. Derek decided to sort through the settings and switch the game mode to the one you hadn't tried yet. You picked the controller up and spied on Derek inconspicuously. As content as he looked munching away, he was still your ultimate rival. Ready to jump back in?
You've got it.
The TV's change in brightness as the game resumed from the dimmed pause menu was noticeable. Squinting, you listened to the familiar music flowing through the speakers until your eyes adjusted. Though it wasn't long before the game managed to suck you in once again. As the game accelerated into its most important moments, neither you nor Derek could be contained by your own seats. You kept pushing and pressing into each other on the couch. The night slipped by joyously. At one point, you took turns watching the other work through some single-player content. Nice! Despite Derek's usual position as the responsible one, you unknowingly stayed up gaming late into the night. Gradually, your eyelids drooped. Your laughter was replaced by yawns, and your voices grew softer until they were whispers floating slowly into cotton-filled ears. The last thing you heard was the melody of the game's music still playing, but sounding so far away. Oh my goodness, did you fall asleep on him? Adorable. You returned to awareness slowly. Your eyes were still heavy and you rubbed at them. Crushed into a cushion, you were exactly where you'd started your virtual exploits last night. On an off-white couch with Derek. Your head was on one end while his was at the opposite side. Okay. Derek's legs were awkwardly tucked underneath your arm and lower back. Amazing. It couldn't have been comfortable for him either. Instead of collapsing onto the floor, you'd fallen over each other. Despite your bleary vision, you could make out his apologetic smile. Derek was already awake. He let out a low chuckle, one with far more life in it than anyone who had just been unconscious would have.
Sorry.
I didn't want to risk waking you by moving. We've kind of been stuck like this for a while.
Sorry. Good-humoredly, he winked.
Having a sleepover in the living room as grown-ups definitely has one perk over doing it as kids.
Said perk was interrupted by the sound of a ringing phone. Derek's eyes widened in an instant, and he shifted to reach his phone on the coffee table. He checked the caller ID, and a disbelieving smirk crossed his face. His voice was a whisper.
Are you serious?
No way.
You couldn't guess whose mere call would get that reaction. He slid his finger across the screen and tapped the speaker button. Casually, he leaned back into the couch and stretched out an arm. From the fond twist of his lips, you knew this at least had to be someone close to him.
Hey, Nico.
Hey.
Morning, bro.
Would I call out good morning in the situation or just listen curiously? I probably would have been like, good morning.
Molly! You're actually the one I wanted to talk to. I just called Derek so I wouldn't bother you if you were still sleeping. Oh, and I don't need my sleep? Dude, you're the most morning-y person to have ever early rose.
Nice. Nicolas Suarez really did not know Cove Holden. That was one competition Cove took the gold in every time.
You get up so early, a night owl could give you a high five on their way to bed. You'll hit the gym before...
The sudden stand-up routine broadcast into Derek's living room was cut off prematurely. Nico definitely could have kept going.
Okay, we heard you the first time. Hey, you asked for it.
Derek pointed a judgmental finger towards the phone. The only thing he said was quietly to you.
This kid.
He lifted his voice up to not let the conversation drag.
What's up?
What do you think? Molly is leaving soon, isn't she? So, when will you come over to see me? Now? Soon?
Derek theatrically rolled his eyes, inwardly laughing at Nicolas's eagerness.
We've got to talk about it. And I mean me and Molly, not me and you. Molly is here already. Sorry, Nico. You're gonna have to share. We'll sort it out and I'll let you know.
Fine.
Alright. See you later. Yeah, I promise.
Bye!
Bye, Molly.
Derek pressed the red button on his phone screen and ended the call. Nico's gesture really was sweet. It might have been years since you last babysat him, but you still held a special attachment for him that you didn't for any other teen. Derek let out another long sigh, still holding the phone in the air. He looked up at the device as if it was a magic wand.
Oh, man.
I should have figured.
Derek? What were you gonna say before he called? Derek shook his head with a wry expression.
I was about to say that with my own place, we didn't have to worry about little brothers interrupting our peaceful morning together.
Ah, well.
Technology has proven me wrong.
You snorted. Nicolas didn't ever need to call a psychic. The timing was prophetic.
Speak of the devil, right? He must have called as soon as he dragged himself out of bed. Typical Nico.
He shrugged a single shoulder and then reached down to place his phone on the table again.
It's no problem.
We can still take it easy, though. You should take it as easy as possible before a stressful trip.
He carefully disentangled himself from you and got to his feet. He flopped down onto the couch as he slipped out, suddenly blessed with more space. You pushed yourself up and settled into a sitting position.
I'm gonna take a shower and everything, then we should have breakfast.
You finally left the mild comfort of the couch, shaking off the remaining sleepiness. Nice plan. I'll get ready too.
Talk to you later.
See you soon!
With that, he headed off to the back of the apartment. You skipped to your room to begin your normal morning routine after a particularly not normal start to the day. Derek's insistence on playing in pajamas had certainly worked out in ways you hadn't foreseen. Maybe he'd had an inkling of it. With two game-loving brothers, it was possible he had practiced dozing off on the controller before. While changing your wrinkled clothes, your phone buzzed with a text from your sister. Liz was giving you the heads up that she was going to pop in to see some friends in the afternoon while she had the chance, but she'd be there to see you off before the end of the day. You typed a quick message letting her know that was cool and sent it.